Hello, so I'm just making this video to show you how you can use MetaTrader 5 and MQL5, which is the MetaQuotes language, to make your own trading bot using AI. So we're going to be using GPT4 to do that. But if you're not super familiar with MetaTrader 5, that's something that you can just download for free. This is MetaTrader 5 instance that I haven't really used. So let me show you some of the basic settings that you're going to need to do. So you probably can't see me clicking on the menu, but I've clicked on Tools and then Options. You can also click Control O. What you're going to need to do, it would normally be on the Server tab. You will go across to the Expert Advisors tab, and Expert Advisor is basically a trading bot. And you want to allow algorithmic trading, which is usually on. And what I tend to do is turn off these two settings, which automatically disable it. So like if you log out and log back in, it automatically disables it. If you change profiles, it automatically disables it. So I'm just turning that off and allowing algorithmic trading. You want to make sure that this here is a green play button, not a red stop button. So as long as you got the little green arrow, that means algorithmic trading's turned on. What we're going to do is we're going to make a gold bot. We're going to make a bot to try and trade gold. I've never actually done this particular type of bot before. We're just going to do kind of a random bot as an example. So what we're going to do is we're going to use GPT4 to write it. This is not the normal interface, but I'm sure the normal ChatGPT interface will work as well. So what we're going to do, I've already written down some notes for the type of bot that we want to write. When you're speaking to an AI, you need to be super clear in what it is that you're saying. Otherwise, it's going to misunderstand what you're saying and make crazy mistakes. I'm sure you're going to see as we write this, it is going to start to make some mistakes. And we're just going to need to check through those and get those sorted out. Full disclosure, I do code. So I don't really know the MetaQuotes language too well. I mainly write in Python. But this is, with the help of AI, it makes it simple enough that as long as you kind of understand logic, code is just a language of logic. So as long as you understand logic and you can follow through and read, most people are going to be able to understand this once it's written up. Anyway, so based on my notes, please write an EA. It knows what an EA is. In MQL5. As I said, you do need to be super clear, but I have tested before that you can just say EA and MQL5. If it seems confused, then use the full language, so that'd be an expert advisor in MetaQuotes language 5. I would like 3 user inputs, which I will explain later. But user inputs are basically things that the person who's using the bot can put in themselves. So these are like parameters that you can change later on. So the user inputs that we're going to want are EMA period, because this bot is going to use EMA. We're just going to make period. We're just going to make a basic mean reversion bot. So it's as soon as price has gone what we consider to be too far from the moving average, we're going to assume that price is going to turn around. So like if it goes up too high from above the moving average, we'll enter a short. If it goes too low below the moving average, we'll enter a long. And that's why we want those as user inputs, so that we can test and change the period. All right, deviation from the moving average, we'll just do EMA as a percentage, and we're going to want the reward multiple. So loss, if stop loss risks 10 pips, we want the take profit to reward us 20 pips. A lot of typos in this. We need this to be a decimal, which is going to do as a float, but that's just a type of decimal. We want it to be a decimal because what if we want like a 0.5 risk, or we want like a 2.5 or whatever? By default it's probably going to make it just an integer, a whole number. So me specifically telling it that it's a decimal gives us more freedom for later on. The deviation, we need to be clearer on this. So what we want is to give an example. For example, so deviation from the EMA as a percentage. So deviation threshold. So that's like, oh, if we're 1% away from the EMA, then we would want to enter a trade. So for example, if asset price is $100 and let's do the asset price is $101 and the EMA is $100, that's a 1% deviation. So if threshold is 1%, we would enter a trade. So 1% or more. Alright, so hopefully you understand what we're doing. Say we've got an EMA going wherever it's going. If we get too high, then we'll enter a short. If we get too low, then we enter a long. So just to explain that to the bot, if the threshold is hit and price is above the EMA, we'll enter a short position. If it is below the EMA, we'll enter a long position. We only want to be in one open position at a time. This includes pending trades. Don't want to have multiple pending trades on at one time. We don't want to make it too complicated because the bot has to think about a lot. So sometimes it makes sense to write stuff in bits, but as you get more experienced, it will be easier for you, because right now we want to give it an overview of the whole thing that it wants to write, and it's going to put these into different functions. What we would really want to do, once you know what a bot really looks like and the structure of how it's written, what you would want to do is you probably get it to write like a skeleton, and then you get it to focus on each function at a time to get it to do exactly what you want it to do. But we'll have a look at that in a bit. So by default, we want the risk to be equal to the entry price's distance from the EMA. We could make it like, we don't want to give it too much stuff to do. So like we could put in extra parameters and stuff. The parameters are like the variables that we can change. But as I said, we're just keeping it simple for like just to show you how it comes out and how it looks. I think that might be enough. Something else that I do like to mention to it, just because I've seen it do it before. So remember, this is MQL5, not C++. So acknowledge the differences between the two. C++, allegedly MQL5 is based on C++, and sometimes GPT gets confused between the two. There's some stuff that you would normally do in C++ that you can't do in MQL5 and vice versa. So we just want it to pay attention and not do like crazy stuff that you're not allowed to do in MQL5 and get mixed up between the two languages. So let's see what it writes us. I probably should have given it more tokens. That's like kind of a little bit like word count. A token is about 4 characters usually. So this is it right in the bot right now, and then it likes to explain the bot. So let's see what it's got. I'm going to put it into the editor in MetaTrader. So let's open MetaTrader back up so you can see it. And what we need to do is, if we go to Tools and MetaQuotes Language Editor, so that is what the code is written into. So you probably can't actually see it on here, but if you just open MetaTrader and press F4, or if you go to Tools and then MetaQuotes Language Editor, let me just make sure you can see this, which you can't. So let me capture that now. MetaQuotes editor. Alright, cool. So we're going to make a new, so we're going to go to File, New File, Expert Advisor. I'm not sure if you can see that, but we would choose Expert Advisor and Next, and then we would name it. So it has name, experts. We would just type in a name, so we'll just do let's do, well, test, what did we say we're doing? Mean reversion. So we'll do MR test bot. Alright. And then it asks you some other stuff, which you can basically skip all of it. Hopefully you can see the window inside of here now. Yes, you can. So let me full screen this. Oh, this has put this inside of like the normal thing. That is weird. It doesn't know. Ah, there we go. Yeah, it was doing something weird, but now it's not. Okay. So let's select everything that's in there and get rid of it. Because these are like the default things. So this is what happens when the bot initializes on init. On dinit is when the bot closes. On tick is something that runs every tick. So that's every like what, second pretty much. So we will empty it and save it. We will get our code from inside of GPT, and I'm just copying that down, and then we're going to paste it inside of the language editor. So we've got that in here. I want to check what is in the code. So on init, it doesn't really do anything. It just says that it has initialized. On dinit, it doesn't actually do anything. On tick, here we go. So here is what is going to be running every tick. It's checking whether a trade has already been placed. So that is probably its tracking for to make sure that we only have one trade on at a time. Oh yeah, well, here we go. It's put on its notes. And what's interesting is you can always ask GPT why it did something or to explain the code to you, which I might show you in a second. But here we go. It's already put some interesting comments in here so you can see what it's actually doing. Calculating the EMA. Checking our price. So this thing like double means it's just a type of decimal number. I think it's to do with like the amount of memory that it puts into it or whatever. Not sure, to be honest. Not had to think about that specifically in a long time. Deviation. Let's see what the calculation is that it's doing on here. So that's going to be the price difference between, well, the difference between the price and the EMA. So if the EMA is 100 and the price is 101, so then that's going to be 1, and then we divide it by the EMA. So it's the difference divided by the EMA, which gives a percentage, but that gives a percentage as a decimal. so it multiplies it by 100. So that looks like that is doing that sensibly. We're going to have the deviation threshold, which, where is it storing our user inputs? Anyway, deviation threshold, which is going to be user input. Working out a stop loss and take profit, etc. It's got its own function to place the order. Oh, alright, and it does the inputs at the bottom. I mean, in my other bots, I've tended to put the inputs at the top. But anyway, so it's done this as a default. It's done the period as 14, threshold as 1%, reward multiple as 2. What we need to do now is compile the bot, which is basically making it into something that can actually be run, because the bot itself doesn't run as human readable code. It runs as its own kind of compressed code. So that's what the compilation is for. And when we try to compile, it's trying to work out, I mean, it's telling us what errors we have. So this particular, what is that? This function is not working, so that's it trying to work out the EMA. Not sure why that's not working, but we can check that in a second. Close is undeclared. So what we can do is we can just feed these errors back into the bot and see what it does to fix it. Ask is undeclared, bid and ask. Alright then, so we can take some of these, let me just paste all of them in. So selected all of those, I'm copying them. And then we're going to feed it back to the bot. We have some errors to fix. And then just from experience, I'm telling it to make sure that it looks at all of the errors, because sometimes it will just fix one of them and ignore the others. Other times it will like create new errors, that is normal, that it just creates new errors, to be honest. But and then you just have to keep going around in circles until you've got it done. But please read all of them and fix them. If you need to split the code into more steps rather than doing single line, so I've told it, like with the bid and ask, you saw that it was doing that like in one line. Sometimes it confuses itself when it tries to do the code in one line. It will mess up the syntax or whatever. Anyway, so I've pasted in all of the errors. This says like what lines they're on and stuff, which I haven't actually specifically told it, but it tends to understand what it's getting at, so I don't have to go and like rub out all of these things individually. So let's see, it's rewritten the whole thing. Sometimes I specifically tell it not to rewrite the whole thing. I just say I'm trying to save on my word count. Just write the specific lines I need and tell me where to put them. So now let's see, you can read through what it says it's done. Sometimes like it's not necessarily lying, but sometimes it's just confused. And it's really confident when it tells you that it's done stuff. Like, oh yeah, well this is all fixed now. But like, it doesn't necessarily know what it's talking about. So we're going to paste this back in. So I'm just going to get rid of all of the code that's in there, paste in the new one. So this is a new code in there, and I'm going to press compile again. It's got fewer errors, so it's fixed the bid and ask, but the IMA wrong parameters count. Let's see what it's actually doing. If I copy this, sometimes the program itself will give you clues as to what you're supposed to be putting in. So if I go back to this and go back to where the IMA function starts, this is telling you what you need to put in. I don't know if you can see that, but it has like a tooltip. So it says like this needs to be an integer and it's the name of the symbol, which this already did that correctly. So we'll do this passes in whichever symbol is already being used. It wants to know which time frame we're on, and so we're just going to tell it to do the current time frame that we're already on. Next thing it wants to know is what the moving average period is, so that was correct as well. I've forgotten what it was called. EMA period. Next thing it wants to know is moving average shift. I don't actually know what that is for the sake of this. Moving average method, and saying that's why we're asking for an EMA. Next thing is applied price or handle. I don't know what that is. What is this put? Price close. Oh, okay, so that's probably the price that it's paying attention to. So it's calculating it based on the closing price. So I don't know what this extra zero is for, but it looks like it didn't actually ask for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment that out. So that means that this line is inactive now. And hopefully that will fix that wrong parameters count error. Okay, yep. So that looks like it's fixed that. And now it's saying that price is not, oh, there we go. I have not put a semicolon at the end of this line. That's why it made a load of new errors. Alright, so now we just have closes undeclared. So what we're going to do is go back to the bot. I mean, not back to the bot. Well, back to the AI. The closes undeclared issue still exists. I had to, just so that it knows where we are. So if it tries to rewrite the code, it doesn't write its old errors back into it, because right now the bot doesn't know that I fixed that IMA line. The IMA line by, you could just paste the whole code back into it, but I don't like wasting my characters because I'm kind of on pay as you go with this. Characters, tokens, what I'm talking about. Anyway, I had to fix the IMA line by removing that 0 at the end. So you do not need to fix that, only fix the close issue. Do not rewrite the whole code or even the whole function. Just give me the lines to fix the close error. Because it likes to write out the whole thing, which is just a waste. So let's see, it says that it's doing it. Oh, there we go. So I close, which I do recognize. So yeah, it probably is that. That's probably the issue. We'll see. Not sure, to be honest, but so let's take that line and swap it out. Swap that out. Get rid of this because we know that that's fixed now anyway. And now we have no errors, so that means that we can take the bot and test it. So let's go back to MT5 itself in our demo account. And then what we can do is we can open the back testing. So that is in, what's it in again? The back tester is strategy tester, I think. Alright, I've forgotten how to open it from inside of there, but what we can do is, because I usually open it from, hold on, I usually open it from inside of the editor, so you can see the compile button and those buttons at the top. So what we go to is, we want to test it on history, we want to test it on historical data. So here we go. So this is going to try and get the data. I'm going to cancel it right now because what it's doing. And you might notice that it downloads like a lot of old data. And what it tends to do is it will just fill up your hard drive, because this is like gigabytes and gigabytes of, it's basically massive spreadsheets of data that it's downloading. But as I said, I wanted to do it on gold, so let's try it on gold. So has this switched? Oh, this hasn't switched for you guys yet. Sorry. So it opened this thing down here. This is a back tester. You can see it says strategy tester down here. It did start downloading the old data, but it was doing it for Euro USD because that's the default. So I've changed this to gold XAU USD. It's doing it on an hourly chart, and it wants to get the data for the start of 2024 to now is what it's trying to do. You can do all of this. We need to run it on every tick. The reason for that is because inside of our code, we have the on tick function. So our main program only runs on every tick. So we need to make sure that's what we're running it on. Anyway, so let's open the strategy tester and we will let it run as it is. Pretend we started with £10,000, even though, I mean, most things tend to be in dollars. So let's say we started with $10,000. Let's check our inputs. Right now it's got the default inputs, so 14 EMA, 1% threshold, and 2 reward multiple. Let's see if this actually runs properly in our back test. So it's going to run it over the whole of 2024 so far. So let's start that and see what it does in this graph. Right now it needs to download those 9 months of history, and now it's trying to run. This is its estimate on how long it's going to take. This line should be going up and down once it starts entering trades, and if it doesn't, that means it hasn't actually entered any. I feel like this is probably not actually going to enter any trades, and if it doesn't, oh yeah, 1% is loads. That's why I forgot. I let it do 1% by default. That is a lot. So let me go back. I'm going to cancel this. So that's crashed when I've told it to cancel. Alright, that's the sound of it exiting, so that's cancelled. I'm going to go into inputs. I'm going to change that threshold to a really small number. So let's do 0.0001%. Just to make sure that it is actually trying to enter things. So this isn't really like a real test, but let's see what it does. We'll go back on the graph and see if it's actually trying to enter anything. You can also look inside of the journal, but I don't think, we haven't really told it to, there we go. So that's the issue. The stop loss doesn't make sense. Let's go and check what the stop loss actually is. And I think that's why it crashed, because it's probably doing this like loads of times. It's doing this on like every tick. It's trying to enter a trade and then it's failing because the stop losses don't make sense. I was hoping to just do something that was super easy. so it doesn't intimidate people away. It's really not difficult. What we're going to tell it to do is we can tell it to print our stop loss and entry price. What it usually means is it's usually going to mean that like the stop loss is on the wrong side of the trade. So like if you're entering like a normal limit order, then the stop loss is going to need to be, if you enter in a long, then you need your stop loss to be lower than your entry price, don't you? And so I feel like the stop loss is probably in the wrong place, or it's entering the trades in the wrong direction. Let's see how it's calculating what the trade actually is. So this is what it's doing to place the order. How has it calculated these? We will find, alright, this is how it's calculating them. So if the price is above the EMA, so if the price is greater than the EMA, then it's trying to enter a sell trade. Okay. And it's entering the stop loss and the take profit. The stop loss is, if it's in a sell trade, the stop loss should be higher, which is true. Yeah, so the stop loss is the difference between the entry price and the EMA. Yeah. The take profit is that difference times our multiple. Okay. I am not sure what the issue is, but let's get it to print it out. So capital P on print. So we want to print stop loss is, which you could actually get the bot to do, but I don't want it to rewrite too much stuff and make too many new bugs. But you know what? Let me save this, because we know that this is something that I could just fix manually. Let me save that into a notepad, and then I will let the bot rewrite this for us, so you can see how to do that. Otherwise it's not really a fair test, is it? So here is the latest version of code. We are getting an invalid stops error in our journal. Oh, you know what? That might be because I've put the threshold too close. So that might not be a coding problem. Let me just check this. Oh, and sorry, I didn't actually show you when I reopened the code, did I? Anyway, let's have a look in here. So the invalid stops error might be because I've made that threshold so small. So it might be that it was too close in the first place. So let's do, if it's 0.1%, no, let's do 0.01% first and see if we still get that error. So we'll open the journal and see what it's complaining about, if anything. Oh, so invalid stop still. Okay, let us go and change it again to 0.1%. So 1% would be, if gold was say like 2.5 grand, 1% would be $25. 0.1% would be $2.50. So let's try that. So we'll wait for this to actually load and start printing out some results. And if it says invalid stops still, then we might just we might try it one more time with a bigger threshold, and then if that's still failing, we'll get the AI to look at it for us. How long have we been trying this? We've been working on this for Where's my timer? 34 minutes. This is looking like it's crashed again. There we go, it's all invalid stops again. So it's probably going to suggest that we debug, which I'm hoping it's going to suggest, because that's probably what I would do, to be honest. But let's see what it suggests. So we will open this back up for you to look at. So here's the latest version of our code. We're getting an invalid stops error in our journal for every trade we try to enter. Please explain without writing any code yet. Look at the logic. What do you think the issue is? Because sometimes it gets carried away and it just starts writing code straight away, and then the code's wrong anyway. So let's see what it thinks the actual problem is, rather than just getting the code and getting it to write it without making it clear what it thinks. So let's see. Typically means that the stop loss and take profit are not valid. We already know that. Following reasons: minimum distance from price. It could be that the difference is too small. Incorrect price level calculation. In the current logic, that's how it's working it out. Yeah, it reckons. Oh, alright, hold on. Because I was going to say it reckons it's okay. However, the calculated take profit is price minus the difference. Oh, it might be too far. Yeah, I don't think that's the issue. Yeah, the take profit's not going to be too far. That's not going to be the issue. Check what the minimum stop level is. How do I check that? I don't know. But let's have a look. So this is looking like... Hold on. Let's see where it has actually set those levels. So... So it reckons the code itself is right. So let's get it to see how it reckons it could fix it. What it's probably going to do is it's probably going to tell us to debug it. The code to get it fixed. What can we do in terms of the code to get it fixed? What is it actually doing? Oh, it's trying to work out the minimum stop. Can it do that? I feel like this is just going to create new issues. But if it can do that, then that is useful. That's one of the useful things about using an AI sometimes. Sometimes its logic doesn't make as much sense, but it just knows that things exist that you don't necessarily know, because I didn't know that that's something that you can just check like that. So let's see if it is able to check that. I'm pasting the new code in. So I've just put that into the editor. So we're going to try and why is this not letting me compile it? Oh, because it's still running. Alright, so I had to press stop on that. Compile the new code. No errors. And let's see what it actually does when we run it now then. I mean, sometimes it's sensible to actually check the code, but I'm not doing that for the sake of time. Let's have a look at this. And we will run it again, see what it says if we're getting invalid stops. It stopped at 6 seconds again, which is what it keeps doing. Still getting invalid stops. So what I'm going to do is stop this again. That's the sound of it stopping. I'm just going to do this manually so we're not sitting here forever and waiting for the bot to try and do it. We could, in fact, let's tell the bot to put in some debug code. So that I'm not tampering too much personally, because then this is something that you will be able to do in your own situation. Please add some debug code so we can tell which levels it is trying to enter at. To be honest, I don't like when it writes out the whole thing. Normally I would say just write out the function that code needs to go into. Then I can copy and paste that specific function and not have it just... Because sometimes it'll just mistype stuff. So like if I'm telling it to write sometimes like hundreds of lines of code, it's just going to mess it up. You're just giving it more opportunities to make a mistake, and then you don't know where the last mistake is. But yeah, so I've copied that. Let's grab that and put it inside of the editor. See if there's any errors. Nope, no errors. Let's see what it actually did. I would expect it. There we go. So this is what it's doing. It will print what it tried to do. So it's got it under a sell order and it's got it under a buy order. So it will print what it tried to do and what these price levels were. So like as a human, we can just look at that and be like, do those prices make sense? And so let's see. We will tell this to run on historical data. So this should open. That sounds like it closed itself. Let's see in the terminal. Why did it close itself? Not sure. My computer is filling up. I think some of that is a historical data. Let me just have a look. I think you guys can't see that, can you? I am running out of space. Alright, let's run this again. Alright, so what ended up happening was I did actually run out of space. I think you barely missed anything. All that happened was I ran out of space, so it stopped recording. But since I set it to run again, this is what we've ended up with. The price was here like $2,050-ish. The stop loss was 4,087. Obviously it's higher because it's a sell order. The take profit was a negative number because it's double that distance from the EMA. But here's the problem. The EMA is like 10. Why? Not sure how it's calculated the EMA, but it's obviously wrong. Also, we're going to have to sort out cases where the take profit will be negative. So like if the take profit is negative, then B0. But we'll see how the AI itself tries to deal with that problem. So let's see what it does. So we will open the AI. What I did was I copied those numbers. Here is the debug output. Please only write the code I need. Just tell me where to paste the specific corrected lines. So I'm not giving it any clues, I'm not telling it what I think is wrong. I've just told it what the debug output was and to not rewrite the whole thing. So let's see what it's saying. Calculations and take profit. Let's get back to the top of this box. Are not valid. They imply that EMA is significantly lower than expected. There we go. That is what the problem is. Ensure the EMA calculation is correct. Not sure why it assumes it's correct. Alright, let's see what it's done. Oh, is that what it did earlier about the minimum stops distance? I didn't actually check what it did with that. How did it calculate the minimum stop distance? Let's go and have a look at that, because I didn't actually check what it did. Even though I don't really think that's important, because I'm pretty sure the problem is the EMA calculation. Min stop distance, so how did it? Minimum stop distance is... Okay, so that's something that you can just get. That means that that's something that's like built into it. Symbol. Oh, that's just what a point is? Okay. But what's the minimum stop level? Oh, here we go. So there is like, yeah, that's just information that you can get out of MetaTrader itself. Alright, so those are alright. So I'm just going to say, remember I had to change that thing in the EMA calculation. Let me give it that and tell it to fix that. Because obviously it was trying to do something which ended up being wrong. But maybe something that it was trying to account for hasn't been accounted for now. So let's... Here's the calculation of the EMA. I'm sure it is incorrect because there is no reason why the EMA should be 10. It should be around 2000. Specific line without giving the incorrect number of parameters, because that was the old issue, wasn't it? And I'm pretty sure it has just given the incorrect number of parameters. So let's see what is the zero. The last parameter, shift, should be 0 to get the current EMA value. But that's not what the shift is. I'm sure the shift was like, the shift was that one. Requires a non-zero shift. Promise some more shift, moving average. So why would shift be there twice? Why does shift come up twice? And it also seems like it contradicted itself, because it looks like it says the shift should be non-zero, and then it made the shift to 0 anyway. I'm pretty sure the last one shouldn't be there. Don't know why I said that as a question, but yeah. You're correct. Should only be in there once. Yeah, there you go. I already told you that. So I'm sure that has just made it back to what we had it as. So let's get it to print the EMA. I'm not going to wait for the AI to do this, otherwise it's going to take forever. So in our editor, let's go back to this line, and we will just print the EMA and then exit the program. Print EMA, and then expert remove is to exit the program. So as soon as it calculates its first EMA, we're just going to get it to quit and see. All right. Hold on a second. Sorry, I'm just sorting this out so we can see everything properly. Is that the actual bot? No, that's the editor. There we go. Let's open that so you can see that properly. So the MetaTrader capture, and we will start this. Hopefully it's going to come up and it will say a number and then quit. I tried to do too much, to be honest. I don't know why it's doing all that. Alright, yeah, the EMA is coming out as 10. Is that because we're at the beginning? Is that because it's priming the EMA? I'm not sure. No, because it keeps doing it. So like it might do it for the first few bars or whatever. Let's see. No, because then still it should be like somewhere near 2000. So let's go back to Edge. This seems wrong. Well, there's no way the EMA should be 10. What could be causing this when we know the price is around $2,000? Oh, I should have told him not to write code. But it has known what the price is, so print the recent close prices. Okay, yeah, let's do that. You know what? The fact that this doesn't do a on init, so that's like to initialize the program, that might be the problem, to be honest, because maybe we're supposed to load in the first few numbers to get the correct EMA when we actually start the program. Let me pause this for a minute. Alright, so what we're going to do is, I have Googled, well, you can see in my tabs anyway, about it returning a value of 10 for the EMA. So I've got, here is some suggested code that pertains to the EMA always returning 10, which I got from a forum. So now it's funny how its tone implies that it already knew, but that's just how AIs tend to speak. Thank you for providing the suggested code. Using an indicator handle and the copy buffer function is a robust way to retrieve indicator values in MQL5. Let's modify the code to use this approach for calculating the EMA correctly. So let's see what it's actually doing. Alright, so it's giving me this. So where am I actually putting this? Replace so this is just to replace specifically the EMA line. So let's take the whole of this and then we'll go inside of our code. No, that's not the code one. We'll go inside of our code and replace the EMA. This is something, what did I do when we were off screen? I put in a debugging thing which it showed us that the EMA was consistently just coming up with stupid numbers basically. So I'll get rid of that and we'll recalculate the EMA. Tab this in, so I'll select it all and press tab, so that brings it level with this other stuff, which just keeps our code nice and neat so we can see what's going on. Compile this, hopefully no errors. Nope, no errors. And then we'll jump back. This is what I was saying about it showing us that the EMA is consistently like just a dumb number that doesn't make sense. So now let's see what it actually does. So I'm trying to run this again. Alright, why have you stopped there? Here we go. That implies that it actually entered the order. So let me check what it... Do we have a graph? Oh, there we go. So it's actually done something finally. I mean, it doesn't look like it's done very well. I mean, it ends in profit, which I didn't actually expect it to, because as far as I'm concerned, we were doing something kind of dumb just to see if it did anything. It goes into a significant drawdown, but let's have a look at the backtest stats. So with 1:2 risk reward ratio, the average win should be approximately double the average loss. So here the average loss is $143, average win is $268, so that's a bit less than double. And we won 37% of trades. But either way, like, this has come out surprisingly well, considering like I was purposely just doing something as kind of proof of concept ish. And what we can look at is it made a chart to show the specific trades that it did. So it's printed our EMA onto here, presumably 14 EMA has been printed onto here, and this has gone from January 2024. And it's shown us the trades that it's entered. So it's entering a lot of trades. And it along here. Oh yeah, and we've still got, what is it, like 0.1 that it's doing? Yeah, it's entering at 0.1. So I think what I'm going to do is, because we've probably been on it for like an hour, what I'm probably going to do is just split this into a separate video, and we'll look at how to, if we've got some random kind of just about working bot, how we can do some optimizations on it and see if we can get a nicer equity curve, by which I mean it's not just zigzagging up and down and it looks like we just happen to have gone up. Even though actually let's test this over a longer period of time first, because normally I wouldn't actually test like 2014, I'd test an earlier year. So let's have a look, and we'll go to, if we do a custom period of, say, let's do 2016 to, I don't know, 2019. So let's do those 3 years. Let's do 2020. Oh yeah, because this is going to be the start of 2020 anyway. So that's going to do 2016, 17, 18, 19. So that's 4 years. So this is a period that it's testing over, and we will started running again, and we will look at our graph and see what it comes up with. It's having to download some more history because I didn't already have those years preloaded. Oh, there we go. So it started, and to be honest, well, we'll see. Is it gonna like plummet now? I don't want to open my mouth and say anything crazy, but to be honest, it's not as bad as I would have expected so far. And now that I've said that, it started to just trend down. Alright, so we've lost, what, not quite 20%. The drawdown's probably further than 20%. Drawdown, 41%. The profit at the end was minus 16%, closer to minus 17. But then what we can also do is, I was saying about splitting it into, yeah, let's split it into another video. What we're going to look at in the next video is how to try and get this to optimize automatically. And when we're optimizing, something that we need to try and avoid is overfitting. So what that is basically making it so that our parameters, we're kind of, instead of looking for something that fits the concept that makes us, that has a sensible concept that it uses to actually make money, what we're really doing is we're cherry picking our results so that we get the ones that look nice onto the data that we've already got. And what that means is your equity curve looks really good on the old data, but then when you run it forward on the data that it hasn't seen, which is obviously your live trading account, it doesn't actually work because we just cherry picked instead of coming up with a bot that should work in real life. But we'll have a closer look at that in the next video, which you can click the link on somewhere here now, hopefully. Failing that, I'll put it in the description.